Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So with new product literally arriving every single day,
yes,
new boxes with shafts and heads and grips, and this is the new Speeder Evolution line, Matty, and it's 7th edition now. Modifications every year, slightly modifying that bend profile just to suit certain swings.
So it's not necessarily a replacement to the Evolution 6 and 5, it's a different profile. Oh, it's an add-on. Okay.
Exactly right.
Gotcha.
So, and this one's very timely. It's very close to some of the profiles you've tested recently. We looked at the blue shafts recently. We looked at RDX Blue. We looked at the brand new Diamana TB.
Yep.
And this one, very similar profiles. Stiffer butt section for kind of that kind of nice, stable, firm feel. Softer midsection so it loads nicely, and a stiffer tip section to be kind of a little bit lower flighted, a little bit less deflection to manage that dynamic loft.
It should be a shaft for people that like a stable feeling shaft, but they want to have some feel to it. Is that fair to say? You don't want to have an overly stiff feeling. Maybe the transition.
Transition is where the key and the magic is.
You want to feel a little bit of that flex there.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I watched a brilliant video, and you know, want to start probably sharing a few more of these. The guys like the guys at True Temper, I think, do a brilliant job with their little small 2-minute videos. And it was an explanation of RDX Black versus RDX Blue. What's the difference? Lots of people want to know. The reality is RDX Black is for a player who loads it heavier than RDX Blue is for somebody who likes that middle section just to load a little bit more.
Okay, yep.
And I think that's really educational for golfers, because once they understand who they are in their own DNA and blueprint, they can go, okay, well, so I know I don't like those stiffer midsections, I'll avoid those.
Yeah.
And that filter process starts to take its shape, and we know you're not a heavy loader by any means.
Yes.
You know, you're someone who is very patient in transition and let all that speed come at the end. There's people who really, you know, rush it. Part of the reason why I think our Power X Shields didn't like the Autoflex, someone who has so much hand force.
He does seem to have, he's definitely applying more transition, I guess, force at the top of the swing than I would be, or someone more deliberate would be. And
look at you two as profiles. The Ernie Elson and Nick Price comparison was always there.
Yep.
That could almost be you two in a sense.
It's true, yeah.
Because Rick really rips that club away, lots of set, and kind of that head is moving at force. So the force in which that backswing occurs in transition is going to cause opposite force in terms of the load.
Okay.
Whereas you obviously are a little bit more patient with your wind up. You get it nice and wide, then you start it slowly, and it's not until the very end that you crack the whip. It's
really interesting to get into a shaft conversation that the words launch, spin haven't yet been mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's lucky for me, I pretty much only talk shafts with you, so I don't ever have those types of conversations, but there's something good about, we're talking about this shaft for swing, tempo, load profile. We haven't talked about what's going to launch and spin, because that's really, would you agree, how you should be picking a shaft?
That's exactly.
Ventus Black and Blue come out, they advise you which section of the shaft is going to move and how much for which players, and then you match the feel of that. You know,
tempo, speed, hand speed, like all the forces placed upon the shaft are going to suit certain shafts and really not suit others.
Yes.
And then once you have a feel for the ones that it suits and the ones that it doesn't suit, you can really start to narrow down the focus of, okay, here's a few shafts you should really focus on.
Gotcha.
That ultimately is what I've spent 20 years of my life doing.
Of course.
Is seeing different players who load it different ways, with different heads, different strike tendencies, all that sort of stuff, shot shape preferences. And then you go, okay, well, all that leads to the Speeder Evolution 7 or
whatever the recommendation.
That's how we filter it down based on all those pieces of information.
So people need to be extremely in tune with their feel in a shaft fitting situation, because that feel is, if you have some perception of what's happening, that's going to help the fitter direct you to the right shaft.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. The swing looks very neutral today.
I'm trying to feel it a little bit more zeroed out. I don't think I'm going to get my attack down much more than that.
Yeah, well, you're probably 3 and 1, 3 up and 1.
I feel like 3 is going to be easier to keep it online, right, than 5.
Yeah, 3 and 1.
Ooh. Hello.
So right out of the gates, 2 extremely neutral ball flights.
Didn't curve much, did they? Ooh.
Finding
That's about as good as a shot I've hit in a while.
Find the dead center very quickly, very easily here.
Well, Healy, but
I love that.
I know it almost faded.
I mean,
just
any
about,
golf ball that starts right of the line and doesn't
Stops.
continue to is a big win.
It really is. I almost made that ball fade.
Yeah, a little sneaky Healy one.
Somewhat strike induced. That's a better strike.
Wow, let's get some pop on it.
It's a really nice flight to this so far. I'm feeling it strike control so far, aside from the one I healed. And honestly, the one I healed, I would rather that be my miss anyway. But strike control wise, they felt very middled so far, and the miss has been manageable.
I don't often kind of get too excited about when you test shafts because you hit them all so good. I could see you in this very quickly. I would have no issue putting you in this today.
It has a vibe to it,
Yeah.
for sure, that it could be a playing companion for me, for sure.
And I think finding a shaft for you that has a little extra weight just for your feel and managing your speed and your tempo and all that sort of stuff, but doesn't have an overbearing stiffness to it where you feel like you have to swing like a gorilla to make it work.
They've hit it so well.
Yeah.
They've hit it so well. It just, all I can say is if you painted it all black or one color and said, what does this weigh and what's the flex, I would have probably gone 60 grams stiff.
Really, it has that smoothness to it.
It's super, as I said, I think the very first couple warm-up swings I made, I said to you, there's a very sort of easy to swing feel to it. But it doesn't feel loose.
Love
It just,
the sound of that.
yeah, it just feels like I'm not going to have to really swing hard to make it work well. So you can keep this mojo going. A little toey, but I'll take it.
Definitely hung on to a nice line.
It's a bomb.
You wouldn't be upset with that in the golf course.
No, not at all.
For anyone interested in the build specs, this driver's 45 inches. It's playing D3. Matt's playing the TSI 9-degree head.
Yeah, just at neutral.
An absolute beauty.
I really like the start line and the lack of curvature to it. It's not moving around much.
No.
That's probably the best drive.
Just sounds like it's living in the heart of the golf club.
It really does. I think that's one of the things that I immediately identify as a low maintenance club, is something that I can find the center of the face and at least not trend too far up. So I can definitely hit some nice ones just above center, but I don't feel like I'm clanging a bunch off the top of the face and losing control of it. It just feels very manageable.
We're really not seeing too much deflection either. We're not seeing any really significant additional dynamic loft. We're not seeing the club deflecting around too much at all.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of standard deviation for delivered loft,
Yeah.
that is very consistent compared to normal. I feel like usually we sprinkle in a lot of high and low ones. That seems like a very consistent reading, which is a good sign.
It definitely was.
I'm not surprised. The output numbers and the ball data, I know they're going to be basically the numbers you always like to see. The delivery ones are even more interesting to me because the strike location, the strike average, like distance from center, the dynamic loft, face angle, path, I'm pretty sure these are about as good as we've had.
These are pretty close to perfect.
Yeah.
17 is most of you who watch the channel enough when I start dissecting these numbers. 17 is about the magic number for someone like Matt who's trying to balance launch and spin with his delivery. It's really, really nice. If you are somebody who's a little bit on the steeper side, try to look for that dynamic loft to be a little bit lower. It's all about spin loft relationships. So delivered loft and attack angle, that differential of about 13.3 is about perfect. All of that is very positive.
Definitely feels positive. It gets good, yeah.
It's a really nice fit. That's the one that, if you put someone's hands and you see those numbers come up and you see efficiencies and launch and spin, everything's in balance with that. You start to go, okay, that's going to be really tough to beat.
It's been good on misses and straight ones, and I don't even feel like I've made any bad swings with it, which is a good sign. I think it's put me in a sort of a comfort zone with it very immediately.
Well, it's a really premium product, guys. Lots of shaft discussions, as always. We always end up involved in those shaft discussions, are happy to be involved in them, because I think we offer enough insight in that we work with these premium products every day and the values of certain ones versus others, and trying to balance out weight and torque and bend profile with the build, what head, what grip, at what length. All those things are contributory factors towards what is ultimately going to be the best club for any golfer. I knew when this came in, when I saw the bend profile, this one would be a home run for Matt, to be honest. I've had the pleasure working with him enough that I just know his game well. I know his preferences, I know his feels. That's why I was excited to build this one up with his driver, just knowing that it was going to be a perfect match. And that's the beauty of working with any fitter, any coach who knows your game. It just becomes quite easy to go, I know what Matt needs.
Absolutely, and I think you identified something also really important, which is this shaft in the wrong configuration for the wrong player. You're not doing it any justice. You're not doing it it needs to be at a swing weight that I'm familiar with, a weight range that you think is right, a flex or a bend profile that is appropriate. And if it's not those things, then we probably wouldn't be able to show you that the shaft is in fact a really good fitting tool.
Definitely.
But in no case is it going to be for everyone. I think you just have to focus on the fact that this right here was a really good fit, really good shaft as well, and so the results are obviously extremely good.
Definitely. That's a gamer. That's a gamer flight, isn't it?
It'll be one of now I don't know 4 or 5 that will be final testing in this. It just grows every week. But it's true though. Like you've got a flavor for what I like.
Oh yeah.
And so
we're really narrowing it now.
When something comes in and we test it, it's almost like, well, why wouldn't you consider playing it? And the reality is, I do.
I love it. Okay, guys, if you we've described the swing tendencies, the swing types that are going to suit this. If that sounds like you, if any of these things tick boxes for you as a golfer, this is one to try for sure, or similar ones. This one is at the premium price point. It's not going to be for everyone. It's $400 USD. That is not for everyone, and we fully understand that. But if you're coming into a custom shop and you're looking to maybe retrofit your current driver, you're looking to just put together the best driver, this is one to really kind of look out for and maybe even request. So make sure you do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, stay tuned for more shaft tests, more head tests, and we will see you again soon.